Today, when I was reading about empiricism, which I was discussing in the last video, I stumbled upon another interesting thing about it that really touches on exactly what I all like pretty much all the things I've been talking about, which is that empiricists believe that when you're born, you're a blank slate, that it's not possible that you can have any inherent principles or reason or ideas pre-existing within you, right? But the creepy thing about that concept is that if you really think about it, that would extend to your entire existence, your entire life then, right? That there's no, I guess what you would call creative reason or any kind of intuitive grasp of things, right? That you're only a composite. You're only made up of things that your brain has been barraged with, and things that you've been told and I guess presumably indoctrinated with as well. And that ties into what I was talking about in my last video about the kind of systematic sort of disguised maybe forms of oppression that you see in there's certain kinds of propaganda, that I've talked about, whether it's in the character Holden Caulfield or whatever it is, right? But specifically, I would say the way that empiricism relates to the idea that there's no objective beauty, right? Like what Julia James Davis discusses on her channel, The War on Beauty, right? And it makes sense that if they believe that you're only just a vessel for physical and sort of sensuous, not sensuous in the sense of sexual, but I mean sensuous in the sense of the senses, that you're only a vessel for all of that type of information and nothing else, that naturally there's no way that the mind could actually be able to understand things on a level that's beyond what is considered logical or physical. Right, that instead they want society or the world to kind of tell people the way things are instead, and that's good enough. And it leads to this kind of, like I've discussed before, this sort of pseudo-realism, this kind of mediocre and sort of depressing world where, like in many of Philip K. Dick's stories, you're constantly sort of being gaslighted, right? You're being told that ironically, the school of thought that encourages believing in your senses, tells you to not even trust what's right in front of you, right? When it really comes down to it, not relying on your own intuition, which, is very strange. It doesn't make any sense. And I think examples of that you see in literature like not only Philip K. Dick's novels, but you would see in Alice in Wonderland. And the characters, even though it's a beautiful world, it's a wonderful world she's in. I don't want to disparage it completely. Like, it's not... the humor is not as cynical as it could be, or it could be in other stories, because it is indeed for children, right? So it's supposed to give you that sense of, as it sounds like, wonder, right? That sense of beauty. But however, it does show you the gaslighting and in a society, a world where she ends up where nothing makes sense, but she's told that what her own mind and her own experience and her own intuition is telling her must not be accurate, that whatever nonsense is being shown to her is actually the truth, right? And you see that a lot of that in Kafka too, in the novel that he wrote, The Castle, where the character can never get to the bottom of who these mysterious authorities are that are within the castle that he's working in, right? And that's a common theme in Kafka's novels as well. But I think that in terms of the bigger picture, it kind of touches on not only just something that's humorous or satirical, but also something much darker, I think, and something much more dangerous, because you see this in real life, obviously. The sort of rationalist empiricism, but on the other, like in science, but on the other hand, the constant need to sort of tell you that what you're perceiving or what you're experiencing, whether it's on the positive side, like in the case of beauty, as I discussed, or the negative side, is not really there, right? And then there's often the term paranoia will be often thrown around.